Welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Wealth Podcast, where we talk about the mindsets, the tactics, and the strategies that help you to build and maintain wealth. My name is David Chuddick, and I am a certified financial planner with Parallel Financial. So if there's anything that's keeping you up at night with regard to your money, email me, David at parallelfinancial.com. We can do a Zoom call, we can talk in person, or even on the telephone about what's keeping you up at night and see if you have any next steps. Today, I'm excited, though, because we have another financial advisor from our firm, Jordan Roberts, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Secure Act 2.0. So, hey, Jordan, how are you?
Doing well, David. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you on. Our firm is really cool in the fact that all of the advisors, we work with our clients individually, but we can also bounce ideas off of each other. And you have a pretty specific former career and expertise. So tell us a little bit about your background before you were in the financial planning business.
Yeah, so in my previous life, I was an attorney. I still am licensed in South Carolina and do some estate planning. But prior to being an advisor, I was an attorney at an investment firm and handled a lot of tax compliance and even some estate planning issues. But worked there as an attorney and then love the business that you and I are in, David, and building relationships with clients. And a big part of what I do, and you too, is get people ready to retire. And I saw people do that at my previous firm, and that was the thing that I enjoyed the most, is seeing people work hard and then getting to enjoy the fruits of their labor in retirement, family and hobbies. And so in 2019, I made the switch from an attorney to an advisor, and but still get to use some of that legal background. Like with the Secure Act, I feel like when there are changes to retirement laws that affect our clients, I think that my legal background helps me kind of get that information to clients quicker because I can read and digest it in a unique way.
Yeah, I have no pride in saying that. I'll let you read and do the research on the new laws and then explain them to me. So that's a pretty cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, so in the financial planning business, I think a lot of people think that all a good financial planner does is like handle investments and how can you make me the most money on my money? But we do so much more. You help your clients directly with estate planning. I help mine indirectly. I have a background with property and casualty insurance, and that's such a huge and not sexy, but a huge part of a financial plan is protecting your assets. I help businesses with valuation and increasing the value of their business. So our firm is just really cool in that we do some really specific things for clients that are way above. We have an awesome investment process, but financial planning is so much more than just managing money. And that's some things we're going to talk about today. So
Absolutely.
for those of you who are listening, Jordan is going to be talking a little bit through a PowerPoint presentation, and he's going to give you the opportunity to email him and get a copy of the presentation. And for those of you that are watching, you'll have the benefit of seeing some of Jordan's presentation. But so the Secure Act 2.0. So let's talk a little bit about it. What is it? When did it happen? I guess it's a government program, so it probably doesn't make all that much sense. But yeah, so take it away with the Secure Act 2.0.
Sure. So the Secure Act 2.0 was signed into law on December 29th of last year of 2022. Um, it got passed as part of the year-end spending bill, and of course that's always gonna go on party lines. But the House version of this bill, of this, it's now law, actually passed by a vote of 414 to 5.
Wow.
And in the age that we live in, you don't really see very many bipartisan bills. You certainly don't see many nearly unanimous. So I think the fact that we did see that on this law just underscores how important it is, that some of these rules regarding retirement needed to change. And we don't, you see this, David, and I see it too in our work. Many of us as Americans don't do a good job saving. And But for most of us, our primary retirement savings vehicle will be a company plan like a 401k. And so Congress really wanted to simplify and update some of the rules relating to 401ks and other workplace plans, to try and get our savings rate up and get us ready as Americans to retire.
Well, and 2 points there. Number one, a lot of people think, well, hey, I'll just live off of my Social Security. The answer to that is no, or that'll be a small portion of your
Right.
retirement. Another
Yep.
thing, and I'm just bragging on our firm, um, we have the ability to manage our clients' 401k plans before they even leave their job. And I've seen it over and over that people have done a great job signing up for their 401k plan when they first start working for a company, but then they don't really manage it. And they, if you ask them, what is your investment? They say, well, I have a 401k. Well, what's it invested in? I don't know. It's invested in a 401k. And they may not, the underlying investments may not align with their current risk tolerance and time horizons. So, just a little side note, if you're interested in having either Jordan or I actually manage your 401k while you're still working, that's something that we can do. And it's a pretty unique ability that I'm really happy. And I think my clients value a good bit. So,
Yeah. And I'll just add to that. I recently had a client that the vast majority of his savings is in a company 401k. And he said, I signed up. I don't really know what's in there. So I went in and looked at his investments, and he, just by coincidence, he didn't know what he was doing, but he had picked the funds that had the highest fees available out of all the selections. So his fees within his account were about 1.25%.
wow.
Um, and the historical returns of the funds that he had picked were not that great. So what we did, we went in and found some better performing funds with lower expense ratios. So we actually dropped his fees within his account from 1.25 to less than 0.05%. So some of these funds that are out there right now have really low fees. So just it's a real unique value add that
Mhm.
David, you and I can bring to clients when that's their primary retirement vehicle. So definitely something to reach out to me or David about if you have that company 401k.
Perfect. Yep. All right, so let's talk about some of the benefits to individuals for the Secure Act 2.0. Then we'll jump into the business owners later. But what are some of the major benefits to individuals with this new law?
Sure. So I'm going to talk through what we're seeing on the screen here, but there's really four benefits to individuals that I think are most impactful. The first one, and I see this a lot because I work with people who are near retirement age. Um, if you have qualified accounts, so IRAs, 401ks, once you reach a certain age, the government makes you start taking minimum distributions from those accounts. So they're called RMDs, or required minimum distributions. The reason the government does that is because you haven't paid taxes on any of that money yet, right? They're tax deferred accounts. So by making you take distributions, Uncle Sam gets his piece of the pie. So prior to the Secure Act 2.0, the RMD age was 72. So once you hit age 72, you had to start taking these distributions from your qualified accounts, IRAs, 401ks. The Secure Act changes that this year from 72 to 73. So if you're out there, if you turn 72 this year and you were thinking, I'm going to have to take my RMDs or start taking them this year, um, call me or David, because you may not want to do that. You may want to wait until you're 73. So if you're turning 72 this year and you haven't yet taken an RMD, so if you've already started, you are locked in to that distribution schedule. But if you haven't started yet, call me or David and see if it might be in your best interest to wait until next year. If you are turning 62 this year, in 10 years from now, so 2033, the RMD age goes up again to age 75. So if you will be 75 10 years from now, you will not have to start taking your RMDs in that year. So this is all part of for individuals, you need to be ready for when you have to start taking these RMDs because they do have tax consequences. So the increase in that age is the biggest change. The next impact on individuals is an increase in the catch-up contributions, these so-called catch-up contributions for 401ks and IRAs. So the way these work, or they worked before the Secure Act, was once you hit age 50, there was a higher amount that you could contribute to your IRA or 401k to kind of make up for savings that you didn't do when you were younger. So in 2022, you could contribute an extra 1,000 to your IRAs, and you could contribute an extra 6,500 to your 401k. So what the Secure Act 2.0, what it does is it says that catch-up contributions now are tied to inflation. So in the past, these amounts would go up just whenever the IRS felt like it. So it might be every other year, it could be every 3 years, but there was no objective criteria or philosophy for increasing that. It was just whenever they felt it was necessary. Now they're going to be pegged to inflation. And the other thing that it does is it says that, and again, and I said now, but this actually goes into effect in 2025. But the minimum catch-up contribution amount in 2025 will be 7,500 for 401ks. I say minimum because, as I mentioned just a second ago, they're tied to inflation, so it could be higher than 7,500, but we know it will be at least 7,500. So just to give an example, we don't know what the contribution limits will be in 2025 for 401ks, but we know what 2023 amounts are, so I'll use that as an example. So for 2023, an employee can contribute up to 22,500 to his or her 401k, and that catch-up amount for age 50 plus is at least 7,500. So you could get, as an age 50-year-old person, you could get 30,000 into your 401k this year. Now, the other thing the Secure Act does is it creates this new category. So for individuals between the ages of 60 and 64. So if you're 60, 61, 62, or 63, you get an extra amount of catch-up contribution of 10,000. So a minimum of 10,000. So once you turn 59 up to 60, your catch-up contribution amount would go from a minimum of 7,500 to a minimum of 10,000.
Okay.
And this is something that I tell clients who are in that age bracket. You're going to have to start watching out for this because, in all likelihood, no one from your company is going to come to you and say, "Hey, you can do a higher contribution amount this year." You're going to have to know that yourself. If you're fortunate enough to work with an advisor like me or David, this is something that we bring to clients and say, "Hey, I noticed you're in this age bracket. You can contribute more this year, and I would recommend that you do that."
Okay.
So higher contribution amounts is the second thing. Third thing is the so-called rainy day funds or emergency savings accounts within 401ks. And this was something that came out, or we saw happen a lot in COVID, is where people had to withdraw money for medical or other financial hardships. And if you're under 59 and a half, you're getting hit with that 10% early withdrawal penalty, which is really punitive if you're in a tough spot financially. So what Congress did with the Secure Act is they said, we're going to create these emergency savings accounts within 401k plans. So these are Roth accounts, but you can contribute up to 2,500 a year into these accounts. And then you can take out up to 4 withdrawals. And because it's a Roth account, it's tax-free and it's penalty-free, even if you aren't 59 and a half. The other thing is employers can choose whether or not they want to match these contributions. So let's say your employer is matching 3% of your 401k contributions. They have the option, but not the requirement, to say, we will match if you do, let's say, 2% to your 401k and then 1% to your emergency savings account within the 401k, we will also match that 1% into your emergency savings account. So if you're someone who wants to have access to some emergency savings within your company plan, this is a good option for you. And then for employers, this represents a good opportunity for you to distinguish yourself from competitors by offering these types of accounts within your 401k plan.
Okay.
And oh, go ahead, David.
No, go ahead. We're hitting the 529 rollovers now, which is
Yep.
exciting.
Yep. So the final point here or benefit for individuals is so-called 529 rollovers. So another thing that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years with 529 accounts, and for those who aren't familiar with those, these are just traditionally they are college savings vehicles. So you put money in. Some states offer tax deductions, income tax deductions for your contributions. But then they grow tax-free within that 529. And if you take them out and use them for educational expenses, you don't have to pay any taxes on the withdrawals. Um, but what we've seen happen in the last 5 to 10 years is you have these parents or save these big 529 accounts for their kids. And then the kid either gets a scholarship or doesn't go to college or for whatever reason doesn't use all the 529 funds. And then they were having to pay these tax penalties to take the money out for non-educational purposes. And so it's like parents are doing the right thing, trying to set their kids up for success. Um, and then they're getting hit with these penalties when their kid gets a scholarship, right? And that just doesn't make sense. So um, what Congress did is they said, with 529 funds that had been open for at least 15 years, you can roll the money out of that 529 into a Roth IRA for the named beneficiary on that 529 account. So I have an example here on the screen. John and Josh. Let's imagine they're each 5 years old, so that their parents are creating a 529 for them when they're 5. And then by the time they get to age 20, John decides that he's not going to go to college. Josh goes to college, but he gets scholarship money. So both of their parents have saved money into their 529s. But John, he's got 30,000 in his 529. Josh has 160,000. So his parents were super savers. But they each have money left over at the end of their post high school career. So for Josh, it was college. John goes out and starts a business. Now, thanks to the Secure Act, his parents can actually roll that money out of the 529 into Roth IRA for both of the boys. And so in this situation, though, both parents could get all of that money out into the Roth IRAs for them. There is a lifetime aggregate limit on how much you can roll out, which is 35,000. And these rollovers are still subject to the annual contribution limits to an IRA. So for this year, it's 6,500. So let's take John, for example. He's got $30,000 in his 529. His parents, over a period of 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it takes, depending on contribution limits at the time, money out of the 529 into the Roth. So this is a great way for parents to, who are trying to give their kids a head start on education. They can go ahead and give them a head start on retirement too. So great tool for parents. If you have kids that you think are going to go to college and you've got a 529, this just kind of eliminates one source of worry of what are we going to do with these funds if my child doesn't go to college.
Yeah, that's always been one of the negatives of the 529 is, you just never know what position someone will be in life at age 18 or 19. And,
Right.
sometimes they're not even walking the straight and narrow. So what do you do with that 529 money? So this is definitely a pretty advantageous rule. And again, this is why I think it's very important to work with someone like Jordan, work with someone like me who knows these rules, because working with a financial advisor, again, it's not just about how we manage your money. It's how we help you to know which rules are enforced and how they can affect you and the decisions that you make. So those are
Yeah.
some of the benefits to individuals. What about how does the Secure Act 2.0 benefit small businesses that do not yet have a retirement plan in place?
Yeah, I think that the biggest opportunity out there that the Secure Act creates is for small business owners, especially those that haven't created a workplace retirement plan like a 401k yet. Um, one of the big changes is there's some additional tax credits for small businesses that want to start a retirement plan. So prior to the Secure Act, there were tax credits of up to 50% of the cost of starting up and administering a 401k or other workplace retirement plan. Um, but the Secure Act actually increases that amount to 100%. So a lot of small businesses maybe who are on the fence on, I don't know if I really want to take the time and the effort and the expense to set up one of these plans. Essentially, the government's saying, we're going to make it free for you for the first 3 years to set up and administer a 401k. And one of the nice things, additional tax credits is, David mentioned the value of working with an advisor. One of the tax credits that you can get is actually an education tax credit. So you can pay an advisor like me or David to come out and talk to your employees, talk about the benefits of saving. What I like to do is I really encourage employees to save and tell them how great it is that the business owner is offering this benefit. Because a lot of times what I see is employees, when their boss comes and says, hey, I'm setting up this 401k, you should save in it. They kind of shrug it off, this is my boss, of course he or she's gonna tell me to do this. But when you have an independent third party like me or David, who's an advisor, and we come in and say, this really is a good benefit that your employer, your boss is offering you, and you really should take advantage of it. I think employees tend to have a better response, and they tend to appreciate what their employers are doing for them.
Sure. And
Um,
systematic and habitual savings that's automatic is literally maybe the best way to build long-term wealth when it's just coming out of your paycheck every 2 weeks and being invested. That's just such a great blessing when employers provide that for their team members, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the maximum tax credit here is 16,500 over a 3-year period. So 5,500 per year for 3 years. Um, so it's just a nice way for employers to feel like, okay, now is the time to go ahead and pull the trigger and set up one of these plans because it's not going to cost me. It shouldn't cost me anything for the first 3 years to do this.
Now, reading between the lines, does the fact that the government is giving some tax credits to help businesses to get retirement plans started, does that maybe tell you and me that not that Social Security won't be there, but we need to rely on Social Security a little bit less and take a little bit more responsibility on our own end?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. And especially, if you're younger than 60, I would say, don't count on 100% of that Social Security benefit being there. I mean, we hope it is, but it's it's not guaranteed. And yeah, I'm sure you do the same, David, but I encourage clients like let's be very conservative in how much we estimate that you're going to get in Social Security. The bulk of your expenses and income in retirement should be from your own savings.
Yep.
It's just you can't rely on that Social Security.
Yep. Absolutely. Cool. Well, let's talk about some more tax credits.
Yep. So did want to mention one last thing is so this tax credit is only available to small employers. So that's 50 or fewer. Between 50 and 100 employees, the credit is still there, though it gets phased out gradually. And then once you get to 100 employees, that credit is phased out altogether. So if you have 50 or fewer employees, now is a great time to start one of these retirement plans. Um, Next benefit that I'll mention for employers is student loan 401k matching. So if you haven't read anything about the student loan situation in the country, it's pretty dramatic. I mean, so I work with a lot of professionals, so like doctors, lawyers, dentists. All of those professions have, on average, 200,000 plus in debt coming out of professional school. Undergraduates, on average, it's about $30,000. So for employers who are looking to attract and retain top young talent, um, student loans are top of mind for many of these employees. And so one of the things that we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, and was kind of heightened during COVID, is that especially younger employees, they felt like, I've got to pay down my student loans before I start saving in my 401k. And so what happened is employers were offering this, let's just say 3% match. And the employees who were paying down their loans were missing out on that employer match. And um, I have a chart in here that shows that employees who take advantage of their employer's match over a 20-year period. So I have two employees. One has an employer that offers a match, one does not. They both save the same amount per month for 20 years. And then at the end of that 20-year period, the one who took advantage or had the employer match has about $30,000 more than the one who did not. And so for individuals who take advantage of their employer match, I mean, it could mean a difference of tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. And the government didn't want employees to have to choose between paying down loans or saving for retirement. So what they did is they allowed employers to say that, let's go back to that 3% match example. The employer's matching 3% of employee contributions to the 401k. What employers can do now is they can say, we will give you that match into a 401k if you are paying down your student loans. So it just gives employers other ways of paying employees that match. And in most cases, employers are already doing this. So it's a benefit that they can offer that doesn't cost them any additional money.
Mm-hmm.
And for, like I said earlier, young, especially young, it's not just young employees, but especially young employees, this is a top concern for many of them. And so when they are, we're in a very tight labor market, and unemployment is historically low. So as an employer, when you offer that person a job, they are probably fielding other offers too, especially if it's somebody that's, highly sought after. And do to distinguish yourself as an employer is to offer these unique benefits packages. And one way that you can do that is by offering this student loan payment match into your 401k. It doesn't really cost you any extra money, but it's really going to help you distinguish yourself in the way that you attract and retain top talent. Next benefit that I'll mention is Roth 401k matching. So prior to the Secure Act, Roth 401ks were permissible and you could contribute to them, but employer matches, so if they were matching 3%, for example, even if you did a Roth contribution, their matching percentage would go into a pre-tax or traditional 401k account. What the Secure Act 2.0 does is it enables employers to make that contribution to a Roth account. And so same principle applies here for employers that want to distinguish themselves and offer unique benefits packages. This is going to be a way to do it, to offer Roth 401k accounts and to offer to do matches into that Roth 401k account. Again, doesn't cost you any extra money as an employer, but it's a unique benefit that you can use to attract and retain top talent.
Yeah. Well, that just, that's giving the employee the opportunity to kind of work with their advisor and decide which one works best for them in their situation based on their age, their future tax brackets, things like that. So, I love options, and this definitely gives much, much, much more options both to the employer and the employee. So it's good stuff.
That's exactly right. Yep. And then the last thing that I'll mention is just that starting in 2025, 2024, all new company 401k plans have to be automatic enrollment. So if you're a small business and you're kind of on the fence on whether or not you want to start one of these, um, just know that next year and onward, you will have to automatically enroll your employees, and you'll have to start them at a contribution percentage of at least 3%. Now, employees can always go in and opt out of the 401k or reduce their contribution percentage. But the wave of the future really is automatic enrollment, automatic contribution of at least 3%. So what I've been really telling clients that are small business owners is now is a great time to go ahead and start up that workplace retirement plan. Not only are you getting some new tax credits, some additional tax credits, but in the labor market that we're in, it's just a great way to bring in and retain good people. But now it's just an excellent time for business owners to put away some money into a tax deferred account and create that benefit for themselves as owners and for their employees.
Yep, absolutely. So if anybody wants a copy of your PowerPoint presentation here that kind of gives the bullet points of what you've spoken about, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so best way to get in touch with me would probably be email, which is Jordan, Jordan, at parallelfinancial.com. And I have a one pager that I can send them that kind of condenses some of this down if they just want to browse through it before reaching out to one of us. But that'd be the best way.
Awesome. Awesome. And Jordan really focuses on retirement and financial planning for dental practices and law firms with 5 or fewer partners and other small businesses. So if you fit that profile, shoot Jordan an email, Jordan at parallelfinancial.com. He has a lot of expertise that is kind of specific to that area. So, hey, so we talked about, when we prepared for this podcast, we talked about what some of the points we were going to make were. But now I have the question that I didn't tell you I was going to ask you. And I ask every guest. So we're the Weekly Wealth Podcast, and we talk about the mindsets, the tactics, and the strategies that can help you to build and maintain wealth. So, Jordan, what is your definition for you, for your family? I think you have 27 kids or a bunch of them. What does wealth mean to you and your family?
That's a great question. I think I feel the same way that a lot of my clients do. Is we're not trying to become the richest people in the world. We're not trying to sit at the beach every day and drink Mai Tais. It's we want to have options. We want to have that feeling of I don't have to go to work, right? I can volunteer. I can do all these other things that I can spend more time with families. So really, it's just money is a tool that enables us to do good for other people and do good for our family. And so having the ability to do that one day without having to worry about, can I do that and pay the bills? I think that's what we're working towards.
Yep. I love it. Most people come back with some version of freedom as opposed to when I get to $1 million or $5 million or $10 million. Because I think, we all think that when I have X amount of dollars, I'll be rich. Well, when you get there, you're not rich. And then when you get to the next one, you don't think that you're wealthy. So it's a matter of freedom and having a very, very grateful mindset. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate your expertise on this. This has been exciting. So any questions about the Secure Act 2.0, you can email Jordan at parallelfinancial.com. And also, if you're a business owner and if you have in the back of your mind that maybe you'd like to sell your business or know what your business is worth so that one day you can sell it and use those funds to fund your future retirement and lifestyle, check out my website, www.allofmyassets.com. I'm doing some pretty cool stuff with business owners to help them to build the value of their business so that they can sell it for a higher multiple when they're ready, or just have an easier and more profitable life today. So www.allofmyassets.com. Hey Jordan, I appreciate your time, and we'll catch up next time there's another big piece of legislation. We'll let you do the research and come on and explain it to us. Sounds like a deal?
Yeah, deal. I'll do it. Thanks for having me, Dave. It's good to be
All right.
here.